advertise being able to go to a bank and deposit into a particular account that you were told about, and then you get Bitcoin. You no longer talk about that. Could you say something more about why that changed?
Yeah, the question is, we used to offer bank cash deposits, so not just Walmart and 7-Eleven, but actual banks. And why don't we anymore? And the quick answer is that our partner who helped us with that got shut down, and they're gone. So we have other systems that are being built to kind of replace those things, but they just went away, unfortunately.
Banks don't like Bitcoin. I don't know if you realize that. So as soon as our volume got too high, banks would essentially go to us or our partners and say, hey, these guys can be a direct competitor of us. Why are we helping them? And yeah, that's the answer to your question.
So you mentioned that all transactions are stored, kind of like Bitcoin, where it's all distributed. Say a country like Iran shuts off internet access to the rest of the world. Can transactions still be done within Iran, and then when the internet comes back on, it branches back out to the rest of the internet?
Yeah, our friend Ira over here would answer this better than us, but I believe if Iran shut down the internet, I don't think they've actually shut down the whole internet. If anyone has a VPN connection to the outside, or there's any breakage in that wall around the internet, and a Bitcoin node is connected to that network, it would continue to operate as normal. If they actually shut down the whole thing, like walled off the country and there was no cables going inside, then the Bitcoin network inside Iran would become splintered from the Bitcoin network outside, and that could cause some problems. So I would recommend someone in Iran, figure out how to make ways around the government's internet, whether that's special, satellite connections, or, Ira, you want to mention something?
Yeah, basically, the internet, all the packets are the same, right? So, like in China, they've got a firewall up that stops people from accessing Google News. The end result is that every peasant in China knows how to use a VPN and knows how to, mask their traffic. So if there's a big incentive for people to figure out ways around these walls, we'll do it. Yeah,
government technology is sometimes scary, but it's government technology, and there are ways to get around it.
Just to add one thing, Bitcoin transactions are not strict just to the internet. They could be done over any protocol. So if, like they did, was it in Egypt where they shut down the internet for about 4.5 days? Cell phones still worked, SMS technology, and you can transact Bitcoins over SMS technology. So you can transact Bitcoins in Kenya and in these Central African countries that don't have internet access. So the answer to your question is yes. There are other protocols that will stay on. Hopefully SMS and simple phone call technology is still on, and you can transact over that.
In the back.
You talk about being able to go to Walmart and buy Bitcoin and go to 7-Eleven. You anticipate a time anytime soon where Walmart or 7-Eleven will accept Bitcoin transactions?
I think it'll be similar to, I'm sorry, the question is how soon will you be able to actually use Bitcoins to pay for things at 7-Eleven or Walmart? And I think we'll see a similar adoption method like we've seen with PayPal. Initially, PayPal was used online, and PayPal's been around for over a decade, and just now we're starting to see PayPal from time to time in physical stores. It'll probably be similar with Bitcoin. It'll start to be used everywhere online, and then maybe in the future we'll start seeing it in some physical stores. But I know one service that is in the works is that you will be able to sell your Bitcoins for physical cash in whatever country you're located at and be able to pick it up at a local location near you. And that's coming very soon as well.
Could you talk about physical Bitcoins a little bit and maybe explain how they function?
Yeah, so one of the big problems that people have with Bitcoin, the question was, can you talk about physical Bitcoins? So when people first hear about that, they say, well, if I can't touch it and can't hold it, it's not real money, which is funny because all the money in their bank is not actually in their bank, but people don't understand these things. So a guy in Utah started making actual physical Bitcoins called Cassatius coins, and they're just little brass metal coins, and they have a hologram printed on them, and behind the hologram is a special code which lets you redeem one Bitcoin back into the normal digital space. So as long as the hologram code is not tampered with, the coin is good and is essentially a bearer instrument. and we have at least one at our table, and you can see them. They're for novelty. I mean, we are beyond coins at this stage of human progression, but people still like something that they can touch and hold, and so that's exciting for some people. And if you want to see it, well, we have one.
So what Bitcoin is you have your account number, your public address, and on the internet, anyone can type in your public address and see how many Bitcoins are on that public address. So what makes you the owner of those Bitcoins is you're the only one in possession of that private key. And to get the right to move those Bitcoins, to send it to someone else, you sign the private key with the public key. So what on the back of these coins are the private key. It's about 20 characters long. And one guy is making me a cool ring that I can put my private key on the inside of it, engrave it, so I can walk around with all my money on my finger.
So the question is, do you have to give permission in order for someone to be able to send money to you? And all you need to do is tell them your Bitcoin address, and then if, for example, if you publish your Bitcoin address on your website, then anyone from any country in the world can send you money, and there's nothing you can do to stop them. Right there.
Okay, you mentioned, Roger, the idea of going to asking merchants to accept Bitcoin as a way to motivate. And I know Vince is based in New York. Is there a lot of that going on there? Do you have a grasp as to how many physical merchants are accepting Bitcoin?
The answer is very few physical merchants accept Bitcoin, and that's to be expected. Oh, actually, let me repeat the question. You were asking how many, do we see a lot of physical merchants in New York where we're based accepting Bitcoin? And the answer is no. Physical merchants are going to be the last people to accept Bitcoin because it's not as compelling for them. They don't need it as much. Bitcoin is most effective for sending money at a distance. It can be used in normal space, like I bought some candy, but it's best when sent at distance because nothing ever has been able to do that before. So in New York, actually we're getting a nightclub set up with accepting Bitcoin, Ever, which is brand new. They're going to be accepting Bitcoin, first bar nightclub place in New York City. But those things are anecdotal. They might make a Bitcoin drink, which would be great. But yeah, it's anecdotal and spotty, and no one should expect to see many physical places accepting Bitcoin, in the next few years.
And when I said that you should ask merchants to accept Bitcoin, I was referencing to online merchants. So anytime you want to buy something on the internet, if you have an extra minute, send an email to the website and say, hey, I want to buy this, can you accept Bitcoin? Or if you're already placing an order with a credit card, in the little field that you have to add a note to your order, say, I would prefer to pay for my future orders with your website in Bitcoin. And that'll help spread the word and let merchants know that the customers are interested in using Bitcoin.
Yeah, good point.